Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and I have been looking forward to spending time with the Hyundai Ioniq 9 ever since it was revealed earlier last year. Here's the thing, I'm a fan of electric vehicles. I'm a fan of space-optimized vehicles. I'm a fan of wagons, and I'm a fan of nearly everything that Hyundai has been putting out over the last few years. The Ioniq 9 encapsulates all of this, on top of my love for cars that stand out and look unique and different and don't just blend in with every other moving blob on four wheels that we see on the roads here in 2026. So when you see an Ioniq 9 in person, you turn your head. You go, what in the world is that? What is that crazy front, this long kind of body shape, and then these big, long, tall rear lights? Look at these. The brake lights aren't coming up, but you can at least see the turn signal lights. Very cool pixel design, kind of slopes down. It honestly makes me think of an old Volvo XC70, the way the lights kind of come down, and it's sort of got these wagon proportions. So I've been spending the week with the Ioniq 9. This is the SEL model. Sticker price coming in just a hair under $69,000. However, Hyundai knows that this is expensive for this car. There's no getting around it. So right now, at least at the time of filming, they're putting $10,000 on the hood right away. So you can get this car, the one you're looking at, for about $59,000, and the top level, the calligraphy performance ones and everything, coming in just right around $70,000. And then you can get a rear-wheel drive SE model for something the lower 50s. That gets you technically the most range, EPA around the high 320s. This one coming in right around 320, and the performance models down closer to 310. So realistically, in real world usage, all about the same, just over 300 miles of usable range. And 6 or 7 passenger seating, depending on which model you go with, getting the captain's chairs or the bench here in the middle. I wanted to review this SEL model because I thought usually the mid-level Hyundais are the best bang for your buck. The SEs are quite basic in order to kind of get that low value point there. And then the top levels have a lot of cool bells and whistles, but a lot of stuff you don't necessarily need. So I wanted to see, okay, what's right around in the middle here at this SEL price point? So today we're going to go through my pros and cons after spending a week here with the all-electric Ioniq 9. If you do want to see more on the car, check the link below. I've got some other coverage. We have a dedicated highway range test where I take this out and do 70 miles per hour for 100 miles, see what sort of range you can expect here in the real world. And I also have a dedicated review of the 8-speaker sound system. Now, the calligraphy models get a Bose 14-speaker system. The 8-speaker, not quite as impressive. We're going to talk about that here a little later on, but you can see the dedicated review linked below. Taking a little look around the car before we get started, and also a quick mention of the video's sponsor, LaceFit. We put LaceFit mats in a lot of our vehicles, and the ones here in the Ioniq 9 are no different. Really great coverage coming over the door sill here, so that you're getting your dirty feet in and out. You're not getting these white bits all covered and stained. Mats that go below the pedals, well below the seats, so if you ride with your feet back here, you're not getting the carpet dirty either. And in this cool pass-through here with the Ioniq 9, the mat covering right along, going right up to the edge. Very nicely 3D measured and cut with this flexible but durable TPU material. Same thing in the back, going in between. You can see we got the seats a little dirty here with Eve's car seat earlier, but no carpet dirtiness because the mats are going so far in each direction, keeping everything nice and covered. And the story is no different in the cargo area either, because the mats cover very nicely. They bend and conform to the various aspects of the vehicle, so you can even get the third row up. They Velcro here to the back, and then you can still get in the underfloor area. So check LaceFit out for mats for just about any sort of vehicle. If you use our link and the code DailyMotor, you'll get about 18% off, I believe is what they're running right now. I'll get a little bit of cash as well, so you help support me. And big shout out to LaceFit for being a long-running sponsor here at Daily Motor. So starting off back here, you see a little bit of a higher load surface. This one coming out to my mid-thighs, so maybe a little bit tougher for some people to get things in and out of. And the car does come down quite a bit. So even standing here at 5'10", got to kind of get down to look in, but thankfully the rear opening, the hatch, still goes high enough that I'm not hitting my head at all. We do have that underfloor storage that you saw. You can put some things, some blankets under there, etc., or a charger, but we also have a little bit of frunk action, so right now we've got chargers up in there. And then even with the third row up, there's enough room back here where you could put things like a stroller or luggage or something like that. It's not like something, what is the Chevys, that if you don't get the extended model, there's like this much space in the back here behind the third row. So actually pretty usable amount of long space here. And then you can fold down the second row seats from these buttons, and that's very useful. I used that earlier this week when I was moving some really long boxes here in the Ioniq 9. I don't know why I didn't think to get a photo of it, but I was able to fold everything flat, and there's a ton of space there, something like 8 feet or something like that, so 7 or 8 feet. The boxes slid all the way in, and I was even able to move the front passenger seat forward just slightly, fit it all in there nicely. Now you can't bring these seats back up, they're not powered back up or anything, but it's just sort of a quick release. Coming into the second row, the third row, at least I guess we should start with that. Not the world's most amount of room back there, fully admit, but if you come on back, you see some more lace fit mats, and also the second row seats are adjustable for where they kind of lay. So you can see this one has barely any room, but with them a little bit further forward, I can sit back here as an adult. These third row seats recline, so I can get a nice recline going there, and I can comfortably sit back here for a little bit of time. It's not as great as something like a full-size minivan or large extended SUV, but it is large enough to be functional, especially for younger kids. So you can slide that back, recline the seat, and then getting in. This seat is set to my 5'10" at driving position. You can see I have oodles of room here sitting in the back. Very easy to get our rear facing car seats in throughout the week. 2 cup holders, door pockets, storage right along here, flip down armrest, heated seats back here in the SEL model. The calligraphies get ventilated in the second row as well. You've got USB ports, second row climate, and a ton of storage. So very nice rear area here. Oh, also forgot to mention air vents in the roof for both the second and third row passengers. So if you have babies back here sitting in car seats, you can blow air on them. Very nicely done. Taking a quick peek at the front, just enough storage space up here to put some stuff. Hyundai right now I think has some chargers, some charge adapters in here. This is the V to L adapter, I believe. We're going to talk about that more in the review, but this allows you to put it in the charge port and then get an actual wall style plug. Let's see, how do we open this? There you go, look at that. So you could power things in your house or things at a campsite or wherever you are, tailgating, a beach, something like that, and utilize the power in your battery for plugs. I very much like that. Then coming into the front driver area, kind of this two-tone design. No piano black, so everything's going to look nice for a long period of time. Tons of places to put stuff. Storage here, storage there, storage down here. Big cup holders. These can both fit 32-ounce water bottles, no problem. Tons of storage all throughout here. Storage in the doors. Very nicely optimized interior. But despite all of this great interior build out, I do have a number of cons here with the Ioniq 9, so let's jump right in. The first one is the sound system. Now, like I said, if you spend MSRP all the way up into the high $60,000 range, you get a 14-speaker Bose sound system, and I bet you that one sounds pretty darn good. My experience with Hyundai Boses has been strong recently. However, if you're spending $69,000 to get this one right here, again, sticker price, I know that there's a ton of money on the hood right now, but sticker price is what we have to go off of. You get 8 speakers, which means 4 up here in the front, and then 4 in the second and third rows combined. It's not a good system. It really is not. I was turning up my music. I like to listen to it pretty loud, and the music was dropping out in volume. There's just not enough power to play this music at a medium to loud volume. So unless you're listening to calm, softer music or talk radio, podcast, etc., disappointment at this price level. It really, really is. It's one thing for something like my wife's Equinox EV to have a not very good sound system, a car that starts at $35,000, but for a car that starts well over $50,000, not good. And that leads me into the next con. There is a degree of sort of sneaky cost cutting in this car. And we see that with a lot of electric vehicles, and we've also seen that with vehicles like the GMC Acadia. But there are little elements that you pick up on the longer you spend time in the car. For example, no auto up-down windows in the back. Now, maybe you get that on the calligraphy. Maybe it's a way for them to save a little money for SEL, but come on. Again, we're talking this price point. Just give us the auto up-down windows throughout the cabin. No dimming outside mirrors. Again, that's at this price point, you're going to want to kind of start getting these sort of things. Little aspects throughout the cabin where you're like, okay, I can kind of see that this is a little bit of a cheaper interior. Now, it's very well designed and laid out, but the material usage, there's subtleties where they're not kind of being very out in the open of how they're saving money. They're kind of doing it behind the scenes. So I'm not saying that it's inexcusable. I'm just saying you got to realize that compared to some of the other cars that we tested. Like we just had the Outback. I got through an entire week of reviewing the Outback and was actually impressed with little subtle elements that I thought, oh, that shows they really went above and beyond here for this price point. Not getting that same feel with the Ioniq 9. Next con. This might seem subtle, but if you drive the way I do, often with one hand on the steering wheel and my arm resting here, the design of this center console is atrocious because this is hard plastic right here in the split. Soft here, hard right along this line, which is exactly where the bone of my elbow sits when I'm sitting here driving the car. So I don't understand. I mean, maybe no one who drives this car and drove it in production realized or drives that way, and it was not a non-issue. But cool center console design and everything, but to me, not worth the uncomfortability for my elbow. For the next con, we have to start up the Ioniq 9. And right here, let me turn the air off. Right here you see level 3. That's indicating the amount of regen that we have. And you adjust that with these pedals here. Paddles, I should say, on the steering wheel. So you can go all the way to 0, where the car won't regen at all, just sort of free floats. And then you can go all the way in the other direction to I pedal, which is your one pedal driving. That's where I can fully take my foot off the accelerator pedal and the car comes to a stop. Now, my con is that I had I pedal engaged when I last parked this vehicle, but because I shut it off, put it in park, got out, etc., it disables. And the same thing happens if I were to come right here, decide I wanted to back into this parking spot, and I thought, okay, and then I was like, actually, you know what? I'll just pull into one of these spots right here, and I continue forward, and I lift my foot off the pedal expecting it to stop. It doesn't stop because it's gone back to level 3. The fact that Hyundai doesn't have iPedal maintain, not only through start and stop, but also through gear changes into reverse, is to me a safety issue. And I have seen many people say the same. Now, I reached out to Hyundai about this, and they told me that the reason it does that is because of EPA testing. The most efficient way to test these vehicles is in level 3. I should say to drive these vehicles is in level 3, not iPedal. Now, I have to imagine the difference is minuscule, and maybe it even just comes down to how the EPA does their testing and not how actually people use their cars in the real world. But to me, I would much rather lose a few miles of range and have the car have one pedal driving for me. And clearly other brands see it this way as well. Tesla, Chevrolet, I can't think, those are the two I can think of right off the bat because they're the most recent ones I've tested. But they all keep one pedal driving on. My wife drives her Equinox EV in one pedal driving all the time. It'd be so frustrating for her to have to turn iPedal on every time she either shuts the car off or uses reverse. So to me, Hyundai needs to do something about this. They need to either change the way their vehicles are tested or give up a few miles of range and have the iPedal stay on. Now, to some people, not going to be an issue. However, to me, it would actually give me pause for purchasing an Ioniq product because that would be so frustrating. And again, I would say a borderline a safety issue. Think about if you've got a kid crying in the back of the car, something like that, you're listening to music, and you don't realize that one pedal has come off, you look away for a sec, you roll into something. Next con, the ride quality. It's not atrocious by any means, but it's not good. It's not great. And you don't notice it with slower speed, larger bumps, but where you really find it is larger, higher speed sections of broken or rough asphalt. It's not a robust suspension by any means. Now again, doesn't necessarily need to be, but when we're talking about a car that's coming into the $70,000 range, you start comparing it with other vehicles that cost around that point. A lot of them have more sophisticated suspension. Coming back here static for my pros, and the first one is a combo. It's the styling and it's the size and proportions of this car. Some people are going to think this is weird. Some people might even think it's ugly, but I love a car that stands out. Again, I would rather have ugly than boring. Chris over at Topher Drives and I used to say that all the time. I love the headlight design. I love the kind of the short hood. I love these little aspects that they use to sort of make the car look and feel and seem lower. I like the wheel designs. And then I love the fact that despite this really not being that large and long of a vehicle, there's so much interior space, the way they kind of extended it and elongated it. I mean, you saw how much space there was in the second row. Look at all that. And then still giving you a good amount of space in the third row seats, and then still giving you cargo space behind. Yet they managed to eke out over 300 miles of range with only 110 kilowatt hours of battery pack and capacity. I think this is a fantastic design vehicle. And if I had 2 kids or more, this would be just a very, very good layout. Very, very good exercise in style and substance. Next pro. I already went over it quite a bit, but the interior layout and thoughtfulness. I know that kind of sounds similar to the first one, but the first one was more the exterior design, the interior layouts as well. I actually know the lead product planner for this vehicle as well as the Daily Motor Car of the Year last year, or technically 2024, the Santa Fe. And I know that individual does such a fantastic job at his interior designs. This car, the Santa Fe, the Ioniq 6, the Ioniq 5, they're all laid out in a way that makes me feel like, okay, someone spent time with this car in development and thought, you know what, this bothers me, let's change it. This could be better, let's change it. There's so much about this vehicle that works ergonomically well. This shifter right here, having it on the steering column frees up area on the center console, very easy to get to. The start-stop button is right there as well. So this is all beautiful and unbroken. You got physical controls for your climate, for your radio, bunch of plugs, bunch of places to put things, a nice wireless device charger that doesn't have active cooling, but because of the design and the way that the center is grippy, it holds the phone. Even if you don't have a case on it, you got a glass back, but then because it's raised around the outsides here, it allows for a little bit of extra cooling and airflow. Very, very smart. Fantastic cup holder design. Everything in the rear, the way things move, the way seats fold and slide, where the climate controls are. Such a nicely thought out vehicle. There's very, very smart and capable individuals behind the design of the Ioniq 9, and I gotta commend them for that. I love spending time in this car. Next pro, that V to L that I showed you earlier, that adapter, the fact that you can pop open the charge door here, plug that in, and access your battery capabilities in a plug format. That's so great because there are so many electric vehicles out there that don't offer that. In fact, we were reviewing the Tesla Model Y a while ago, and you can only get V to L with the performance model. I don't understand that. If you own an electric vehicle, you have enough power on board, if it's fully charged, to power a household for days and days and days. So if you have a big long power outage or something like that, being able to tap into that electricity and use it for other means, it's awesome. Now in the calligraphy models, you can actually plug in inside the car as well, and you get a full powered port inside the vehicle. You don't get that on SEL and SE, but at least you can get the adapter and plug into the outside. I appreciate that one, Hyundai offers it all, but two, they didn't limit it to any of the one trim. Next pro out here on the road. Now, I know I talked earlier about iPedal not staying on throughout drive cycles. However, I do appreciate that iPedal, when it is on, works even when the battery is at 100% state of charge. For many of you who have owned electric vehicles or used them, you might know that when you're at 100% state of charge and you try to use one pedal driving, it doesn't work. The regen isn't as strong, or it's not there at all, and that's because there's nowhere for that extra electricity to go if the battery pack's already full. However, I've charged this car up to 100% multiple times. You can see we're at 98 right now, and it still very aggressively slows itself down. So one of two things is going on. Either one, it's got enough overhead in the battery pack that when you charge to 100, you're not actually fully at 100, so therefore you can still regen a little bit, or it's applying a little bit of extra friction braking to compensate for that loss of regen. Either one I'm fine with. I'm just happy it still works the same. The next pro is the powertrain. Despite this not being the performance model, this still has a ton of power. We're well up over 300 horsepower, and because it's electric, you have that power all throughout the speed range. I get on the highway here, all-wheel drive, mat the accelerator, and I am well up to 70 miles per hour. Now, that's not really that strange for an electric vehicle, but for a family hauler, you got to think of how nice it is to be able to have that smooth, progressive power and not be making a lot of noise. We drove something like that GMC Acadia later last year, and you got that little 4-cylinder turbocharged engine screaming at you when you're getting up to highway speed with a few kids in the car. No, not here in the Ioniq 9. Very just like a magic carpet getting you up to speed. And then if you do want that extra punch in the gut and like a 4.5 second 0 to 60, you got the performance models. Those will really push you to the back of the seat. And if you're going to be utilizing the Ioniq 9's optional 5,000 pound towing capacity, you might want to utilize the performance model to get that extra power. So I am happy to report that after looking forward to spending time with the Ioniq 9 for a while, I'm not disappointed. This would absolutely be a car that I would consider putting in our driveway. I would like some of those cons addressed. Some of them I understand are just kind of going to be that way, but things like the iPedal, they can figure that out. I would rather see a 3% loss in range from the EPA and the ability to keep one pedal driving on at all times. The sound system, that's tough for me. I would really have to consider if it's worth jumping all the way up to the calligraphy model just to get the better audio system, the rear view camera. It's got some other niceties and features. Those are the two biggest features for me, having an upgraded sound system and the bigger camera. However, for $9,000 to $10,000 or so, I could just take this in and have a really banging sound system put in for probably about $1,500, maybe $2,000 with a subwoofer and amplifier and other speakers and everything. And then, I mean, you can get by without the rear view camera. So I'd still probably just stick with the SEL, and I would pay an aftermarket company to upgrade the sound system. And at that point, you got a fantastic family hauler here that you could probably walk out of a Hyundai dealership for less than $60,000 for. To me, that's pretty darn sweet. But is it enough to put it above the Subaru Outback on the Daily Motor Leaderboard? Let's decide. Start of the year, we're still pretty sparse on the DM Leaderboard. We've just got the Subaru Outback, Subaru Crosstrek, and Nissan Sentra. But yeah, I mean, the Outback is obviously quite a bit less money, but I appreciated the Outback, whereas I am impressed with the Ioniq 9. And the other thing you got to consider is there's not much competition here. There is the Kia EV9. This, I think, is a better car overall. Now, there are some people who are going to prefer the EV9 if you don't necessarily need the space or you don't like the styling here of the Hyundai. But for a family, this one makes more sense to me. And the pricing is just going to continue to get more competitive. It's a great family hauler. It charges fast. There's a bunch of range. Great interior layout. Cool exterior styling. It's a good car. It really is. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on the Ioniq 9, check below for our sound system review and our highway range test. And we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.